Hey everyone, there are two readings I want to go through today, Psalm 138 and Romans 12. So we'll start with a discussion of Psalm 138, here in the New Revised Standard Version. I give you thanks, O Lord, with my whole heart. Before the gods I sing your praise. I bow down toward your holy temple and give thanks to your name for your steadfast love and your faithfulness. For you have exalted your name and your word above everything. On the day I called, you answered me. You increased the strength of my soul. All the kings of the earth shall praise you, O Lord, for they have heard the words of your mouth. They shall sing of the ways of the Lord, for great is the glory of the Lord. For though the Lord is high, he regards the lowly, but the haughty he perceives from far away. Though I walk in the midst of trouble, you preserve me against the wrath of my enemies. You stretch out your hand, and your right hand delivers me. The Lord will fulfill his purpose for me. Your steadfast love, O Lord, endures forever. Do not forsake the work of your hands. Now, verse 3 from Psalm 138 struck me when I read the readings for today. On the day I called, you answered me. You increased the strength of my soul. This is translated a few different ways in different versions. You increased my strength. You made me bold. You made me brave. What did God do when I called him? This psalm mentions a number of things. He preserves me against the wrath of my enemies. He delivers me with his right hand. He regards the lowly, but sometimes he answers by making us strong. People like to say God won't give you more than you can handle. And as someone who's gone through multiple losses in the past 18 months, I think I speak for a lot of people when I say that that's not helpful at all. And I don't think it's a fair characterization of God. Tig Notaro, a comedian, wrote a special after a long series of traumatic experiences, including the loss of her mother. And in it, she joked about this saying, and she said she imagined God watching her and saying to the angels, you know what? I think she can handle a little more. Another reason I don't like the saying is it implies that God is bringing us to the hand of pain, and I don't think that's fair either. But I believe that God gives us blessings in the midst of our pain, in the midst of turmoil, in the midst of this pandemic, this economy, the losses we've experienced, that can strengthen our souls. So I want to turn now to the letter of Paul to the Romans, chapter 12, which is also in today's readings. Therefore I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. For by the grace given me, I say to every one of you, do not think of yourself more highly than you ought, but rather think of yourself with sober judgment, in accordance with the faith God has distributed to each of you. For just as each of us has one body with many members, and these members do not all have the same function, so in Christ we, though many, form one body, and each member belongs to all the others. We have different gifts according to the grace given to each of us. If your gift is prophesying, then prophesy in accordance with your faith. If it is serving, then serve. If it is teaching, then teach. If it is to encourage, then give encouragement. If it is giving, then give generously. If it is to lead, do it diligently. If it is to show mercy, do it cheerfully. This week, I want everyone to think about how we use these spiritual gifts. Think about the psalm for today and what happens when God doesn't remove us from the bad situations, doesn't keep our loved ones from dying, when the world we used to live in disappears and God doesn't stop it. It doesn't mean he isn't there. It means he's giving us strength for us to carry ourselves and each other. First, Paul tells us in verses 4-6, for just as each of us has one body with many members, and these members do not all have the same function, so in Christ we, though many, form one body, and each member belongs to all the others. We have different gifts according to the grace given to each of us. We shouldn't try to exercise every single one of these with the humility and grace that Paul describes. We should think about what we are strengthened with, and that's what we can offer best. And we can be confident that the other gifts will be carried by other people who are strengthened for those particular purposes. So what are the spiritual gifts Paul talks about here? Prophecy, or telling others what God is saying to us, service or ministry, serving others in practical ways, teaching, encouragement through words, generosity, leadership which should be done diligently, mercy or compassion without condemnation, which should be done with cheerfulness. And the fact that Paul tells us this gift requires cheerfulness shows us that this is a gift of the Spirit that God gives us through His grace. How do we use these to encourage each other during our current times? Naturally, these gifts, or the ones that we are strengthened with, are hard to keep up. It's easy to fall into selfishness, to worry only about the people we know, the people we love, and allowing that to be at the expense of the people we don't know throughout our country and throughout the world. The people who have had experiences you'll never have or gone through struggles you'll never suffer through. During quarantine, I've taken up gardening, digging up trees and planting new ones, creating mock-ups of where flowers should go, learning which plants tolerate weeds and which ones don't. But in taking care of my garden, there aren't winners and losers. I can water all the trees, not just one. I weed every garden plot. In 2020, we are tending a strange garden. More and more people are experiencing fear and loss. We're feeling isolated and alienated by others. So think of these gifts: prophecy, service, teaching, encouragement, generosity, leadership, and mercy. Think of these as the tools God has given us at this time. Sometimes He lifts us out and puts us in a different garden. Sometimes He tends it for us. And other times He strengthens our soul. He gives us mercy to love each other, to break our hearts for hardships we don't understand. He gives us a heart of encouragement or of serving, to lift others from their pain, to pull out the weeds around them and give them water to drink. Think this week about how you can use these gifts to help those around you. Which ones are being strengthened in you? What tools is God giving you to tend the field we're in right now? Because we're all in the same field, and we can help our garden grow by working together.